All right,
So
yo, welcome to episode 1235 of Plat Chat.
Yo, it's
You
gonna be
know,
real sad when we get to episode 1235 because then people will be confused.
true. We use a new form of
Yo,
math.
this podcast
on
didn't
the
last
pod.
that long. You got high expectations.
Mm.
That's like 200 years of podcasts. Of course, it's not going to
No, it's
last
not
that
200
long.
Yeah,
years.
last-
Well,
No,
what do you
it's
mean?
quite
Well-
literally 20.
Listen,
Well, it's 20 years, yeah.
I'll be real with you. I reckon we'd last that long.
And if you're wondering, Bren and Simon are not in. They're not in a prison. They're not in a confined space. They're at a tip of the hats. Somehow, though,
True.
Bren got swindled out of the nice setup, and Josh looks actually better than he does at home. Bren just looks.
Look at my webcam.
He
Look how,
looks
look
like-
how,
yeah,
look
I
how
mean,
weird it is.
Yep, that is a
5 FPS.
14 FPS webcam there. Bren.
But my audio
basically-
is crisp, right?
basically streaming from a bathroom.
Josh,
Uh,
do you have your
right?
bed on the side of the wall to your webcam? Is that a bed? Or are you
that's a
supposed to take it
table,
down?
Dude. Have you never seen a
Is it a
folding
table?
dude?
A what?
There's a folding table behind him. There's not a bed.
Oh, I don't know. It looks like comfy. Look comfy. Looks like a bed.
Bless you. All right, some things we can talk about. There's a balance change on the PTR. We didn't even talk about that because that's how long ago it was before the last time
Wow.
we were live. Honestly, we may as well not talk about it because it's probably going to go live soon. If it's been that long. What
Josh
we
has
can-
sneezed 3 times. Is he okay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
I'm
fine.
perfectly
He's
fine.
actually
He's
he's
fine.
very sick. He
Oh.
doesn't want to admit it.
So the balance changes, that stuff's already happened. I would plug to go to get tickets to our live show, but it already happened. But maybe we do another one.
Oh, we've got a doc. That's right. Where is it?
Wait, we have a doc?
Amazing.
I
Amazing.
think, I think only
Link-
Matt
link
reads it.
Link it to me.
What do you mean?
Hit it up.
I don't have a doc. I come
What's good?
prepared. Why
What's good?
why do you think? Let's talk about free
Okay, so
agency.
we don't have a
That
doc.
seems to be the no,
Okay.
because that seems to be the
Okay,
thing
okay.
that, Bren could probably talk about the easiest. This is Hugo just jumping up and down
No,
behind.
I'll be real. I mean, I have intentionally stayed away from looking at any roster changes because I know it's just going to be completely different.
A lot of
week
coaching
by week.
changes. That's something
Yeah.
that I think you actually won't see any of these people signed until all of the coaching and GM hires come through.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think you'll see some that like make sense, right? Like so we can go through it. So I think we
Yeah.
can just go down the order of I believe I'm looking at the Gamehouse article of the top 20 free agents.
Here is a list right here. Very good list I found for us. Very
Oh,
good. Very
well, shame I can't open Discord.
Well,
Very
I
good
found it, so it's fine with me. Well, this gives okay, so this gives us all the coaching changes as well, but I think we should just discuss the players because the players are still free. On the Gamehouse article, they have Mecca ranked as the #1 available.
good. Okay,
For
read
the
that.
free agent.
That says a lot about. Well,
Don't read that.
What do you want me to read, Bren?
Just read the doc, the Reddit thread I sent you
Okay.
because
wait, Reddit.
I don't want to
thread.
rely on journalists.
All right.
Well,
so,
here's something interesting right
What
off
is
the
it?
bat
What is
about
the thread
Mecca
called?
thing as well.
What's the thread called?
Jesus wept.
Oh
We're,
my
we're all
God.
struggling just with the logistics of being able to find
yeah,
articles
you
here.
know,
Come on, people.
I had an easy way to go through this with just the top 20 people.
I'll
and
tell you
Bren-
what, you-
and
you
Bren
do
hands
you,
me an
Matt.
article. Bren hands me an article of everyone in the league who's
What is
free,
it
and he just
called?
starts
What's
telling
the
me to
title?
read it. It doesn't
Do it,
matter.
Matt.
You don't need
Go
it.
on, then,
You
Matt.
don't need
Go
it.
on, Matt. Do your
What's the
thing. I won't
title?
interrupt you.
I'm
I
the
won't
host of the
interrupt you.
show. I'm not gonna let you disrespect me like you just run all over Golden Boy
Tell
on,
me.
on foreheads. You don't need to know. You're a pro player. Well, you're not a pro player.
What's
you're
what's
not
wrong
an
with you?
analyst. You're a producer now. You should know.
I'm literally the one hosting the podcast. I could kick you out if I wanted to.
I mean, then your viewer count goes from 113 to probably 60, 70.
Man, I had
mean,
more
we
viewers
should-
before I even did Plat Chat.
We should be doing this on Josh's channel. I mean, this is a waste. But Mecco, they have listed as the #1 free agent. Does anyone actually? Does anyone agree with that? That he is would be the most highly sought after player out.
No, it's just
every
no.
free
It's
agent.
not
By
ranked in
doing-
order, is it?
Yeah, but here's
Yeah.
the thing: by doing detective skills and
Yeah.
comparing the Overwatch League, so the Overwatch League released this like player contract status stuff, right?
Yeah.
And Matt Morello was listed as the author. Don't believe that for a second, by the way. Matt just wrote like a sentence at the end of each thing. Absolute nonsense. But also, so Mecca was listed as a free agent there. Then Ben Troutman actually did an article at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. this morning on the first day of 9 a.m. yesterday on the first day of free agency, and it was like the 20 best players not locked up in their contract. Meko's nowhere on that list.
No, because it goes by player impact rating. I think.
Yeah, but surely he would be up there somewhere.
Yeah.
You don't think? Like, I
Does he
think
have that
Meko might
grade of
have
a season?
already been re-signed. Like, I think Meko might have literally already been re-signed to NYXL.
No, because the list that I worked off of for free agents is like constantly updated as of like when that article went live.
But that
was like 2 days before.
Matt.
Yeah.
I spoke to a lot of players, and they all said it was out of date.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I wrote with what they gave me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that's your fault. I'm just saying, like, it's the nature of an article being posted a couple of days later.
Well,
Right?
because
And
there's a
also,
lot
it
of
just
people
shows how
who-
crazy it is, too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who had team options who probably knew whether their team was picking up their option when that article went live, right?
Yes, yeah.
That's why I kind of find it a bit wacky to talk about.
But Meko needed a complete new deal. I mean, that's where the difference is he didn't have a team.
Okay,
He
I would
was
say,
completely free.
in my eyes, some of the top picks coming into this year as free agents: Carpe,
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Cool.
Nevix.
Yeah, Nevix is a big one, actually.
You would put
Yeah.
Nevix over Meko or Void.
I'm
He's
just reading
not
out
even
names.
on
I'm
the
not
top
giving-
20
I'm not
list
giving- I'm not
of
giving
Game House.
rankings.
How
I'm not
dare you,
giving-
Game House, not even list Nevix in your
I'm
top
not giving
20?
any rank. Johnny's-
Unbelievable.
I thought
Tragic.
Swedish people were just not nationalistic.
Yeah, they are.
They listed Janus over Nevix.
I mean, that's...
I actually
didn't.
might put Nevix over. Like, if I was going to rank it, like, maybe Nevix would be a bigger pickup than Void. Or, I mean, I don't think that Meko's even really going to another team, though. I think that was just him, like, choosing not to renegotiate at the beginning of 2019. But
And getting
I would be so surprised if Meko's not in New York.
Yeah, I mean,
that
if
would
you
be
were
mind-blowing.
Meko, I mean, you think you're one of the best off tanks in the league. You don't do a long-term deal last year to cash out this year and get like a mega deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But that's when I think salary comes into play. If you're NYXL, do you want to make Meko arguably your highest paid player? Like, what happens when Mono's free or Jonak is free, right? Like, it kind of sets a standard with like what you're gonna do. So like,
and you really have to clamp down on that, kind of early on, because you get the runaway situation. Like, I don't mean the runaway as in the runaway team, but situations like in CS, where all of the CS owners at the moment are complaining about how big the salary is.
Like if you were in New York, for argument's sake, and the difference between Meko and Void.
Yeah, he burps all the time.
The difference between Meko and Void was saving like $200,000 or $300,000 total. Is that
$200,000 or $300,000? Yeah, of course. Of course I'd go with the less one.
But I think that's kind of like I think Meko is going to demand a huge market just because of how good NYXL has been the first 2 years, and he plays.
I think Meko is pretty replaceable, actually. Like he's good, but he's not like, oh, if Meko leaves NYXL, they're gonna struggle next year. No, I could totally see them pick up some other off tank that's like similarly skilled, and they wouldn't have a big problem with it. He's not a staple pillar of New York Excelsior.
Just call his bluff, though. Like, Meko ain't leaving this team if he doesn't get however many bajillion he's asking for. Like, he's still going to get a pretty decent salary, and he's probably still going to stay on the team. He's been playing with this organization and with these players for, like, the beginning of time.
Yeah.
He's never played on a team without Sabiobi, I think. So it seems kind of crazy.
At the same time, we saw Seoul drop JaeHong, so it's like it's not impossible. Like these players have to realize
they haven't dropped.
He's just a free agent, and he's exploring options.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I've been muted for ages. Why are we
the Bren
talking
show
about
now? Go on.
theoretical amounts that Meko's asking for?
Because I'm just like, I mean, that's kind of what happens with free agency, right? Like,
Out of thin air, you've just created a scenario where Meko is asking for millions of dollars from NYXL,
which I hope he is.
should call his bluff. Well, I don't think. Honestly, the worst thing for the league is players starting to inflate the salaries like Sideshow's gone on about with CS and whatnot. Because I mean, the league just needs to be sustainable at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And if you're paying these players, these ridiculous amounts, then it's not going to be sustainable at the end of the day.
Does anyone actually think Meko leaves?
No.
At the end of the day, I don't think so.
This is a boring conversation for me.
Okay, fine. Let's talk about Carpe then. That's a little bit more interesting.
Carpe's
is very interesting.
Carpe
in fact, the
with
whole Fusion are really interesting.
Carpe with Philly. Does anyone All right, let's go around. What are the odds do you guys think Carpe stays with Philly?
I'll give that one a 2%.
2%.
Okay.
I'll give it
You think so?
20%.
Oh, I absolutely 100% believe that he's off elsewhere. You combine the rumors of the fact that he wouldn't play with Fraggy or something, the internal discord of the Philadelphia Fusion, the fact that they didn't look like they wanted to play together when they were up on stage, the fact that both EQ and Neptuno are free agents as well, the fact that they released their entire coaching staff. This is a team that's about to undergo big changes.
No, they're rebuilding.
Yeah, so maybe they rebuild around Carpe.
Nope, they've already given contracts to Poco and Boombox, and you think that they're gonna give Carpe the run of whether?
Didn't Poco say he was gone?
Nope, Poco and Boombox are both
Well,
under contract.
Sideshow's got the juice, dude. Like, this should be the
No,
Sideshow
this
show.
isn't even juice. This was just from the contract status article. They are both under contract, and so it's clear that those are the players that they're rebuilding around.
Trade them, bro.
They'll probably
triggered an idea in my mind, Josh, and I can't formulate it.
All
and I don't
UK
know
roster.
why. It wasn't the UK roster. It was actually was
the
Carpe part?
coaches
I
or
remember now.
something?
I remember now. Was Carpe part of the rumor back last year about this trio of mega super Korean players wanting to move to a team?
Yeah, it was the
Yes.
Carpe Jonak
Carpe,
Fury
Jonak
trio.
Fury.
Yeah,
Wasn't
they
it-
would always,
Carpe,
they'd always
Jonak Fury.
wasn't
yeah,
Profit
they-
part of it?
I don't think he was.
No, I
No,
don't
I
think
think it was
so.
Carpe.
Okay, but let me
But I think that
explain.
They'd
also
always-
really became a yeah. Go on.
Let me just explain it because people might not be aware. But this was some old fermenting hot tub juice for quite some time. This has been in the works, but the idea was that Carpe, Fury, and Jonak or some other top player, it may have been Profit, but that's
No, it's just the three of them because they would three stack all the time.
Yeah.
Bro, that was
The-
so
the-
much
the
fun to
rumor
play
was-
against. Whenever you'd
the
queue
rumor
for
was,
ranked
yeah.
and you just play against that trio, just like, oh, I think we've lost this game, Volskaya. Cool.
Yeah, the rumor though was that they would be sort of inquiring as to joining a team together.
But hold on,
when they
now,
would be
now you
fit.
just told me my Meko chat was boring. But what if they just try to trade for Fury and then go, "Hey Carpe, guess what? Fury and Jonak are already here. Come on board." Like,
That would be wild, actually. If they decided not to pick up Meko and tried instead to bid for Fury, that would be crazy.
and then you have a team of like Mono Fury.
What a monster
Mono
team that
Fury,
would be.
Sabiobi,
Actually
Carpe,
really good.
Jonak,
But
and Animo.
Carpe fills in Sabiobi's role.
Wait a
Carpe
second.
can play Genji or Libero can like play as well. Like,
Do you think
Yeah.
NYXL would be better with Fury and Carpe, or would London be better with just with Carpe right now? Because
But London,
I would
London
take
would be
that.
better.
I would take that New York team to be
No,
honest.
no,
Would
no,
you?
no, no. I think
Profit
London would
is
be
so
way
good.
better, dude.
Well-
Profit's unreal.
Well,
He's unreal.
yeah,
you
but
replace Birdwing,
well,
this
the problem with
inconsistent
London has
factor in
been
the
the
team?
shot calling issues. It has been like the
Yeah.
leadership skills. And
Sure,
it's
so
like,
I
if
prefer-
you
Carpe's
put
not
it, throw
that.
in Carpe, I mean, that's not going to solve the issues. So New York Excelsior just seems like a safer pick because then you have an established team culture and team environment, and you're just throwing in more individual skill.
all right,
Like, I think
but
that'd be
if you
sick.
if you put Jonak and Carpe onto London, now you've got an
Yeah, but
outrageous.
there ain't no way that's
No,
happening.
that would be like the face clan
no.
of CSGO.
It
It would
would
just
be.
be like
I'd
star
love to see it.
power with like
so
a
many
little to
egos.
none kind of
Yeah,
leadership,
but
and they would
FaZe Clan
tilt
was
at each other.
amazing to watch.
You know
I
how,
don't
like,
care
when
that
you-
they
when
didn't
you-
even end up that good.
When
I
you
just-
start
they
living
were
with someone
amazing.
for too long, and then you get tired of each other, and you start to get tilted at the other's behavior, I think that is what would happen. They would be so good at the game, but they would start tilting at each other because
But
they
I
wouldn't
think, though,
know what is
I
going
honestly
wrong.
think though, but like if you were Philly, there is not a chance you are letting Carpe walk to New York, like in your division.
What
like,
isn't he a free
hour
agent?
away.
He's a
It's
free
expired.
agent. They can't do
Right,
anything.
but you would just throw the like a mega offer at him. You would,
No,
if you're
why would
Philly,
you?
Why not?
Why would you
Nah.
want
Yeah,
a
but why
player who
not?
doesn't want to play for you?
I really don't like the
Yeah, but
idea.
you can turn that around pretty quick though. If you brought, let's say if you're Carpe, you went back to Philly. Philly brings up Alarm. Let's say they're able to trade for like a Fury or something like that. You're kind of close.
No, they're
I don't
narcissistic
think-
12,
I don't
20-year-olds.
Fury in the first place.
Yeah.
They've already decided to build around Poco, and I don't really think that that's going to be compatible. And also, yeah, just the fact that they have, even if they did give Carpe a mega offer, I don't think he would take it.
Yeah.
Like
probably
Carpe
not.
clearly, I think has
Do you think-
shown this year that
Do
he
you
just
think
wants to play
Birdwing
with.
will ever find a team again?
I think he will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
can
you-
see him finding a team.
I think
You
he's
think
too.
you'll find an Owl team this
Yeah.
year?
I do.
Yeah.
I think he's
barely-
too. I think he's too good. I mean, dude, think about some of the guys who are on the bench on Owl teams. You're telling me you wouldn't just take a risk on Birdring? He
But
wouldn't be
is
like
it a
strong
risk? I
recruit.
mean, he's kind
You
of a
couldn't trust
proven
him
product. I'd
consistent.
rather take a risk on somebody from Contenders that looks amazing in Contenders.
I don't think
Because
that's
the chance of
how.
him being the next insane player might be higher than Birdring returning to his
No,
past
I
form.
think a lot of these GMs and stuff, they're inexperienced and they have no prior like management experience, and I think they'd rather go for a reliable pick with someone who they, not
It's also
aspire
name
to,
power,
but like
dude,
grew
yeah.
up as knowing as a star player. I think they'd rather go with Birdring on his last 1 or 2 years.
Right. It's also the power of his brand too.
He does have a
Yeah.
decent brand, but a lot of his brand over the past 2 years has just been disappointment because he hasn't lived up to what we
It's
knew
like
he was capable of.
European
previously.
soccer players going to the MLS in their last 2 years,
is,
as marketing. It's just like, oh, here comes Birdring joining the Houston Outlaws, good marketing.
Let's wrap up the Carpe thing. Who do you guys think he's with next year? If you had
The-
the,
I mean,
if you
everyone's
had
talking
the-
about
the most
London. It's
sense.
like,
London makes the most sense, but maybe NYXL, I suppose. But NYXL already have so many other DPS players. Why would they need Carpe? It's just with
Yeah,
Birdring
they
gone,
let go
London
of-
is just
I mean,
obvious.
yeah. Unless you,
Yeah, London seems to make the most sense.
yeah, it
Dude,
makes
you
no
could-
sense. But looking on paper, if there wasn't like pre-established, friendship groups or whatever, like Carpe to Vancouver with Haxal would actually just be
Yeah.
like blow your
Wow.
brains out. Kind of.
I
That
think
would be
though,
nuts.
you could offer, if you're NYXL, you can easily make that happen. Like if you signed Carpe and you wanted Fury, if you called up London, you offered them like Meko and Nene to send out another damage dealer. I think London does that.
Meko and
Meko
Nene,
and
and
Nene
then
for Fury.
NYXL get Fury and Carpe.
Hmm.
That would be really.
If you're London,
interesting.
why wouldn't you do that? Nene and Profit's pretty solid to work around. You
It
bring
is.
in
That is a
Meko,
very
you
solid.
bring in Meko
duo.
for a little bit of change of pace, right?
Well, I think you still run into the issues with that NYXL team not having a leadership figure.
You mean the London team?
London, you mean?
Are you saying you would move that to London? You'd have proper.
I would move.
Proper Nene
Yeah,
and-
you'd have Profit,
oh, yeah,
Nene.
might be. Yeah. Okay. But then what does the NYXL squad look like? I'm struggling to visualize. it now.
NYXL then would look like Mono, Fury, Sabiel B, Carpe, Libero, Jonak, Animo.
It's a weird. Saviovi Carpe. It's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
It's a lot of overlap.
No,
That'd
you
be a
could play
weird
both
team.
of them together in like Widow Hanzo things.
Honestly, as
Well,
well,
you
when
don't
you
know what the
Well, you
meta's
don't know
gonna
what the
be.
meta is going to
right,
be.
you don't
Right?
know, but I
when
mean,
you
it
look
could
at New
change
York,
constantly.
though, they've only had success with Sabiolbi. Yeah, if
Yeah.
I was if I was in charge of the NYXL, I'd be worried about signing Carpe just because you might have to bench Sabiolbi and your whole team might go to shit.
That's true.
And I
Okay,
think Washington Justice proved in season 2 that you can't just predict a meta shift. Like you need to be so flexible that you can play any
Well,
meta, and
Yeah,
you're not going to
I
risk
think
on Carpe
that
and
team
Sabioli.
probably wouldn't have struggled if they had better coaches. So
Let's go to the 3 big Gladiator free agents next.
I don't even think we do that yet.
I think
What
this
do you
is an
mean?
even more pointless debate to talk about Gladiators because the ownership situation is so weird
Yeah,
that it's like you don't know what's
very
going to
odd.
happen.
You
But
don't know
like,
what's
what do you
going
think the market will be like for Sure for Hydration and Void?
on. Oh, pretty good. Shovo's like the most popular Western player, right? In terms
Yeah.
of followings.
Yes, it should
if
be
I
nuts.
if I was Toronto, I would be
Toronto
on the
would
phone with
be-
Sure for, and I'd be like, "Yo, how much Skrilla do you need to come play for Toronto?" And whatever he said, I would throw more on top, and I'd be like, "Sign this shit today." Like it makes way too much sense. They're a team
Yeah.
that has no face. They have hardly any players. He's
Yeah.
from Canada. Like you couldn't ask for a better scenario if you're Toronto.
Note
I'd
is a
pretty much
free
go
agent
out
too.
and say that
Note
unless
too, yeah.
Toronto sign Surefor, they are going to still be utterly lost. Because even if they
Yeah.
have a decent team next year, they've just got no fans because they were just all over the place. They started with the Korean team
Yeah.
failed, then they brought in like Magnitude Gods, Logics. They're
now
popular players in their
everybody's
own right, but they were never a team, and now they're all
Mhm.
gone. Like this is just a team without a vision. So they need a
They-
vision, and Surefor would provide that.
Well,
They
okay,
almost
so
need
let's
Sure
let's
for one note.
transition this over to then the conversation about coaches because I stand by a point I made in an earlier episode where you can look at all these players as much as you want, but the best bang for your buck is going to be the coaching staff at the end of the day, and I think that's proven time and
Really?
time and time and again, yeah, in the league so far. I think that there was a lot of underwhelming coaches being signed by Washington Justice at the start of the league. Where are they now? They're all sitting at the free agents pile. You know, like it's. I think the coaching staff is the most important thing you need to get sorted first. And Toronto didn't figure that out. I mean, Bishop got released a little earlier in the year. Justice didn't figure it out. Mayhem definitely haven't figured it out.
Is it more coaching or more of just creating a stable structure and organization within your organization? Like, I don't think you're ever going to get anywhere when you're like letting go of half the roster each year and letting go of all the coaches. Like, I think it's more about having a stable environment, like,
which comes from the coaches.
Justice was stable, but they were just dreadful.
Right.
And Philadelphia Fusion this year was stable, but they were.
But even
poor.
then, like, the Justice switched up like their GM halfway through. They didn't have a chance to pick the players they wanted. Then they got rid of the coaches at the end of the season. Like, you're kind of starting over from an organizational standpoint.
From scratch.
Yeah.
Listen,
there's a lot of teams in the league that need to redo their organizational side, plus including the coaches.
Yes, I think coaching is the last thing to catch up right now in the league.
Yeah.
The last thing. And I'm seeing some moves from some teams. I mean, I don't know.
Call him out.
But I think it's I mean,
Gumba getting released, questionable. From when I've spoken to the guy, he seems like he's got his head screwed on. I can't comment on his coaching ability because the thing that a lot of people need to realize as well is that you can understand the game, you can understand the game, you can understand the game as much as possible. But when it comes to being a personable person, in terms of how well you can actually talk and communicate to a lot of these players, that's what matters most.
Well, I was going to say, what do you assume the coach is?
Well, I think it depends how you split it up, right? But in general, you want somebody to be able to sit down one-to-one with the players, talk through a lot of their issues. You want to have an environment. You want to have a coach that facilitates an environment where everyone can kind of speak their mind and everyone's respected equally. But at the end of the day, the coach will have the final say. But the players also want to feel like that the coach is taking what they say into consideration.
I feel like the coaches in Overwatch League are capable, but they just shoot themselves in the foot. Like when I come in, no, I mean, look, I would agree with you there, but I think some of the ones even that are pretty good probably like stretch themselves too far. When the sense that let's say I'm the coach of the team, I shouldn't be telling Johnny how to play the game. Johnny and the rest of the players know how to play. I should be the one who kind of like mediates discussion between the group. Like, I mean, if your players ain't gonna no clue how to play, they ain't the right players.
No. I think a lot of these players that know how to play, but when it comes to like widen their skill set or become a more complete player, they often lack like the big picture kind of thing, where like they're so focused on what they're already doing and what they're doing well that they can't see the big picture, and that's when you need a coach to step in and be like, hey, we know you as an aggressive tank, but maybe you should learn how to be a defensive tank as well. And that's where the coaches can come in and make a more complete player.
I guess what I wanted to say was that, like, I don't think you should expect your coach to come in and be drawing up X's and O's and telling your players what to do.
No. I think
that's kind of what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I think going into Overwatch, a lot of people talked about how it's very similar to like the NFL, and like you would pull out like routes and like plays like that.
Yeah,
I don't think that works. It's too like there's a flow to Overwatch, which means that you need to be so much in the moment and execute in the moment based on so many variables happening all at the same time that you can't think about a tactic or like pulling off like an execution like that, because you will always be like 1 second or 2 seconds behind the enemy team. You need to have a flow to your game, and then you can't have too many like thoughts of tactic or execution going on. You literally need to just be on the game, like on the ball.
I guess I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Because I think people, when they hear the word coach, they assume that, like, you know, Coach Brennan Hook is sitting with fucking Sherfor before the game and he's drawing up X's and O's on where they want to go and how they want to attack. Like, I don't think that's the case.
I mean, throw it out the window. But I think it's also a dangerous mentality, just saying, oh, well, the pros already know how to play. Let's just leave them to it, because then you end up with a Florida Mayhem Season 1 situation where Ryder, or was it Ryder who was quoted?
Was he the coach? Was he the coach who came in and was just like, yeah, ain't nothing I can do with these guys? I just kind of like sat back.
These guys are so bad, there's nothing I can do. What a horrific mentality. It was Swoosh that said, you know, the most I learned from Ryder was how to be a good coach, because he just did the opposite of what Ryder did, you know? Like some of the stuff I heard regarding that is just
Could you imagine that scenario, though? I mean, that is just like horrific.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of talent right now in the coaching list that I'm looking at that that can go to some places, but they might need to. I mean, obviously they've been released for a reason, probably because they didn't put up results, probably because they've got issues they need to fix. But in terms of the understanding, I think a lot of the players in the list right now are free agents when it comes to coaches, have an understanding of the game. But it's how do you communicate that?
But it's also sometimes you just need a fresh start. Like I'm not even sure. Like Shake and Gumba seem like the kind of people that actually, when Boston was doing well, the players had a lot to praise about both of those coaches.
Yes,
they said they were very good at being able to spot things in other teams, be able to craft strategies for them, suggest different ways of being able to utilize stuff, teach the players how to be able to play goats to a better level, this kind of stuff. But with how bad Boston was in the second half of the season, they clearly just need a refresh. They need to go in a different direction. So I don't think that's necessarily a knock on Shake. Like some of the coaches that have been released, it definitely is a knock on them. But for people like Shake and Gumber, I don't think it is. They just need to find a new home. And
I think the biggest thing you can learn from San Francisco Shock this year is not how Krusty, like, per se improved the players, you know, in their skill set, but the entire season, the mentality of the players on that team.
Yeah.
Because they remained humble, but they were cocky going up against teams like Vancouver Titans, and they were so kind to each other and so friendly as a team. Like, they were a squad. Yeah. They were a true squad, but they always remained humble and didn't, you know, think too highly of themselves, but they were still cocky against the enemy team.
You can,
and like, if you lose those set of values, like those personality traits,
one simple thing,
it's falls apart.
Having respect for the coach. That's literally
right.
it. The one consistent
that's what Krusty's good at.
Teams that do well is the fact that the players respect the coaching staff.
I mean, all you have to say about
the rest follows, you know.
Krusty's coaching is that he decided to sit an MVP candidate in stage 3 with Super on the bench the whole time. He didn't say a word. And then Striker, who was an MVP candidate last year, sat on the bench the whole time, and he was ready to go. And he came in. You didn't hear anyone being like, "Yeah, we're not happy. Like, I want to get playtime."
I mean,
like,
Striker's a unique scenario as well because he actually directly worked with Krusty. I imagine that when he got picked up, it was a scenario in that Striker probably definitely wanted to work under him again. You know.
What do we?
Interesting.
Can we go back to the players, because that was more fun than Bren going on coaches. I mean, for Lord's sake, I mean, Johnny could be a coach by the end of the week for all we know.
I already am.
He's a full-time streamer.
I'm coaching you in contenders.
Gamsu being a free agent. What do you think his stock's at?
I think this is the same as Meko. I think he's so he got to the end of his contract that was with the Boston Uprising. Uprising went into a 1+1. It got traded to Shanghai. It's expired. I think he definitely resigns. I think Gamsu's stock individually is not that high, but Gamsu as a the stuff that he adds to the team in terms of leadership, veteran presence gets overstated a little bit, but yeah, he's just a nice guy, and he's old and he's experienced and he knows, and he's been around the block in esports, and he's probably very valuable to that team. And let's be real, they won stage 3. This is not a team that you need to make many changes to still have success next year.
They're not a team you should blow up, I would say.
No.
We talked a little bit about Surefour. What about hydration?
I like hydration. I think the West sort of lacks good, flexible players in the projectile position. I think hydration fills that for a lot of teams. So I could definitely see him, like, if he were to be sent to, like, I don't know. I was gonna say Washington Justice, but that, I mean, they sort of have it sorted.
Like a Houston Outlaws type of scenario, like.
Houston Outlaws is like a separate thing, you know. Like, we have to go deep on Houston.
But also, I think Houston and Dallas will make some big acquisitions in this offseason, and they should certainly be trying.
How many spots does Dallas have?
Dallas, well, if you cut players, you can make spots. Like, you still have to pay them reparations, but you can make spots on your.
You wouldn't
roster.
even do that. You would just take their contracts and make them like content creators, right? You would just move them off. You'd keep the personality, but just move them off the roster, right? Like,
you can buy them out of their contracts.
That's what you do.
And make space. Dallas have to do that, otherwise they are fucked. So Dallas will be doing.
Hydration
like
makes
that.
a ton of sense for a team like Dallas, right? Western
for
player,
sure,
Western
because
player,
they don't have anybody successful in the DPS role.
I mean, that has been the one. That's been the one hole in that team's roster.
There's been a lot of rumors about Dallas, though, and players joining that
projectile. Team. I mean, the projectile has been like the one thing for Dallas that's always hurt them. Like, hydration makes like way too much sense for them. Like,
why? What are the rumors, Johnny?
Well, wasn't there a rumor like back like a month or two ago when like "Who are you?" No, Unko wrote to "Who are
Yeah.
you?" on stream, and it got
Yes.
clipped and posted on Reddit. So
Okay.
everyone's like, "Oh, who are you?
I
Let's go
had
to
this-
Dallas."
I heard this rumor even earlier when Aero first joined the team that he was like, because he had also coached Who Are You.
Oh, that
as
makes
part of
sense.
One
Yeah.
of those teams that he would kind of bring Who Are You along as well.
Oh.
I don't know whether they have the money or the interest, and Who Are You comes with his own baggage as well.
Yeah.
In terms of being really young and having, he's been cut and moved from teams all over the place.
Hey, they
before.
got 5 homestands though. He puts butts in.
I
the
was talking about
seat.
this on my
That's
stream
true.
today.
He puts butts in the seat.
He's
And
got
people were like,
mad
"Oh, who are
name
you? It's
value.
toxic." I was like,
I don't care,
"What?
dog.
I
I
didn't
mean,
know
he
who
was when he was 16 or 15. Yeah, he literally
everyone-
won
mean,
Apex when he
okay.
was 15.
Yeah,
of
I
course
mean-
he's gonna be toxic.
The same
Yeah.
goes for Sinatra. Like 2 years ago, Sinatra was like a big time streamer, but he was like a toxic piece of shit.
Bro, he's
on
still
stream.
toxic. What are you talking about?
Well,
I hate
still a
that
little,
stuff.
yeah, sure,
toxic,
but like
but
he's changed it
The
around,
difference
you know,
is,
like
difference is he doesn't do it in a team environment. That's the only difference.
But even
Like-
if he I don't know. I have the mentality that like
I'm just saying the personality can change, you know, you can turn it
Yeah, of
around.
course, yeah.
Yes,
People can
yeah.
mature. People can mature.
Mature,
Exactly
yeah,
like
that's a good
Sinatra.
word.
if you're at a
Sinatra-
certain level of player
Ah.
though, you can be toxic.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, like if LeBron James was toxic to his teammates, they would 100% keep LeBron James. They ain't shipping him out.
Well,
Like
that's Michael
Sinatra,
Jordan, right?
he's
Kobe.
like MVP, right? Like if Sinatra
Well,
wanted to be a
okay,
bit
you
toxic, okay, fine. Like,
lot talking about flex DPS players that are phenomenal. You haven't mentioned EQO? Not
well,
once?
we were if you're
Yeah.
paying attention to the list I was using, he was not the.
Yeah,
next
I
one,
am.
but
Why
the
would I
one
look
that
at your
we
list,
got.
Matt?
Yeah,
Your list is
because
wrong.
Game
because
house, bro.
My
Your
list,
your
my
list,
list
wrong.
simply had big
Your
name free
style,
agents, which is what we were
Your
doing.
cadence, whack.
That's,
You
that's
whack.
it's all phenomenal stuff.
Whack human being.
I was about to make
Like,
fun of you for not
Stop
being
just shouting
for
on
not
that.
being verified, but I mean Sideshow he's not even verified, dude. Hex, dude, a Twitch
Come
billion,
on.
dude. Twitch
Come on,
billion.
Imagine
dude.
not being
Verified,
verified
dude.
on Twitter.
Imagine not even Johnny, dude. Johnny's not even on the goddamn show anymore.
I was
He's
verified like 2 years ago, man. You were still
Oh,
a
you
Rainbow
were?
Six player when I was verified on Twitter. Shut your
Yeah, I was
mouth, bro.
verified.
God. Yeah, it was.
Dude,
what
go
can I
back to
say?
coaching Call of Duty, bro.
That's embarrassing.
Make some
bro.
money in the Call of Duty D League or whatever it's called.
Hey,
I got mega
wanna- hey,
ballooned.
if they got money, hit me up. My business email's in my Twitter.
Yeah, assistant coach Morello. Hey,
bro,
turn up.
assistant coach, dude. That
No,
just gets
I'll
me
tell
more
you
fun
though,
down the floor.
EQO, what a guy he is, huh? I mean, I probably want. I probably say the best Western flex DPS player.
But
It
on
was last
hydration,
year. I mean,
I think here's the thing: it's a tough season, right? For Fusion, they got a lot of expectations on their shoulders. They needed to perform. They didn't for a variety of reasons. I think that team has been close to imploding many times. But a fresh start is often very good for a lot of these players.
do you think if Philly lost Carpe, they'd have to keep EQO no matter what, right?
No, I don't know.
I
So,
don't
so here's the
think
thing
so.
about
Not
EQO.
necessarily.
I'm suspect about EQO as a teammate because we all season we talked about how Philadelphia Fusion just seem like down on themselves. They're not having fun on stage or whatever. And I'm worried about how much EQO's personality contributes to that kind of environment, given that he was a bit of a shot caller and a leader for that team. So, I mean, I think based on who EQO signs with, if he re-signs with the Fusion or if he goes elsewhere, that sort of gives us a hint as to whether EQO was a good teammate that Fusion wants to keep,
There's-
or if he moves on and Fusion
I
don't want him.
really believe that neither EQO nor Neptuno are re-signing with the Fusion. No
Really?
team re-signs these kind of players and just ditches their entire coaching staff. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
Their
well,
coaching staff has been removed. This team is rebuilding. Like the signs are
no,
very
I
clearly
don't know. I don't know. I
Very
like
clearly.
Neptuno. I could see Neptuno playing for Fusion
there.
next
EQO
year.
and Neptuno are two
Nah.
of the same people.
If
They
you're-
are
if
very,
you're gonna
very
move-
talented,
No,
very
Johnny, if you're
outspoken
gonna-
human beings.
Well,
If you're gonna
Neptuno, I
move
think is a
on-
way more mature kind of leader to bring in. Like if you bring in like young players alongside him.
If you're gonna get rid of the coaching staff, get rid of Carpe EQO. Why keep an older player in Neptuno? You may as well just get a young guy in there and just start letting him.
Well, because I don't
grow.
think he necessarily was a problem on this team. I could have seen how the coaching staff perhaps didn't contribute to
But
whatever.
usually when you have like
the
if you
team,
think of it
but-
as like a toxic bad environment.
Okay,
you
well
would
let
just
me
gut-
give
gut
you
the
some
whole thing.
inside info.
You can just
But-
fire
Yeah.
everybody.
Hell yeah, you
Keep the
can.
good pieces to like
Totally,
establish
yeah, let me
something.
give you
Yeah,
some
hell yeah,
inside
you
info.
can send them all home.
No, don't just
Two
pick up some
players.
EU contenders
Two
team.
players,
Like
there
no,
we
dude,
go.
keep some good pieces around.
Bren's got juice. Bren's got juice.
I've
Let him
listened.
speak,
I've
let him
listened to the comms of a lot of these teams, and I know who the problem players
Oh, Bren is the
And
demon
Philly-
problem players.
Philly did not have problem players in terms of the communications. They had very strong, very authoritative players.
Opinionated players. probably.
Opinionated players. Okay. The two players who were the easiest and most malleable to work with are the two players that have remained on this roster.
Sure, absolutely.
Boombox and
Yeah.
Poco.
Yeah,
Boombox and
absolutely.
Poco were the easiest players to work with in terms of listening into the comms. They were the easiest to work with, and I think that is exactly applies into Josh's point about this team. This team has been blown up. And they're going to try and build it from the get-go, from the foundations. The one thing you don't want when you're doing that is going to be these authoritative players that are going to be saying "my way or the highway" when you're going for the rebro.
No, but you still need one. You can't just like go
yeah, but
all
here- but-
roaming
yeah,
and
but
get
I don't
random
for
people.
contenders.
You
No,
still
Johnny,
need
I
one of
don't-
the kind of leaders in the team, and I think Neptuno
don't-
was a
Find
good
them
leader.
elsewhere. Find them elsewhere. or
No,
build
I think
a-
I
from-
really
from
don't think so. I
Poco
think if
Boombox.
you have two people, that's too many, okay? You can't have both EQO and Neptuno. But keep one. Keep one as your leader of the team. And I think Neptuno and Alarm in the backline would bang.
I think it would be a very successful team, but I think that's not the direction that
I don't
Philly
think
want to
that's
go in
gonna
because
go
they've
in,
already
yeah.
had that for 2 years and they already know what that looks like.
Johnny
They're not
just
going
had
to
this
pay
long-
Boombox. Okay, Boombox.
just
If
long
Boombox is
emotion-
in the starting lineup of next year, they're not going to be above mid-table.
They're not going to play
No,
Boombox.
but they want him
Alarm's going to come
around,
in.
yeah.
But they want
So
yeah,
stop
they want
talking
him-
about them keeping him.
No, they
Well,
are going to keep
they
him. He's
are,
under
yeah.
contract.
But now I'm just
They-
saying, like, it
he
doesn't
has
matter.
a contract, Johnny.
He'll be a streamer next year, like whatever, dude.
Dude,
No,
Johnny
he might
becomes
be.
a-
He'll be on
what
the bench.
Hell is Johnny?
That's so harsh. What are you smoking over there,
Check this man.
Wait, how am I harsh? You're the
What's
guys
in
who's just
that
like, oh,
man's
fire
cup, dude?
everybody. Oh, you know, they're getting rid of everybody.
Check for the lean, bro. Check for that lean.
I know that Philly
What
is
the
not.
heck?
Philly is not
You're gonna
attached
trade him to
EQ.
Paris, bro. Boombox
Well,
to Paris
look,
next year.
I know that Philly had deals in place last offseason to trade EQO, and if they were willing to consider those last year, there's a good chance that like bringing him back this year, they weren't super like thrilled. You know, I mean, they were probably thrilled to have him on the team, right? He's a fantastic player, but just the being willing to open to deal, I think kind of tells you like where they're
But-
at. But I think
these are
EQO
the
could be
kind
huge for another team, though.
Exactly. These are the kind of players where
They just
you
need to
put them on
change
a
the
different
scenery.
team
Yeah.
environment and they could pop. I mean, you send EQO to Dallas, like we were saying with a flex DPS, or Houston, or you send him to like a Paris Eternal where their entire ethos is about you know, like European players and European talent. I think on any of those teams he could be a real leadership figure.
Incredibly weird scenario. There's no way London would make a mixed roster, right?
No, I don't want to entertain that idea. That's dumb. Get out of here. Move on.
And if you had EQO as a leader there with Prophet, you said there are issues like
No,
in-game
get
adjustments
out.
and whatnot.
No,
EQO
Matt,
and
shut
Profit,
the
is
fuck
that what
up.
you just said?
Get Cruz, dude.
No way. No way.
No,
If they,
Matt
if
is the
they
kind of
go
guy
there-
who's just like, yo,
You're
what if they
insane.
sent LeBron James with Steph Curry, bro? Yo,
Why
that'd
not,
be
bro?
dope.
Why not?
London, if
To the
London
Knicks,
were to ever
bro.
go with a mixed roster, it would be
Yo.
going for the Dallas Fuel effect, which is basically you build it around hiring up or building up that fan base. You build a UK South Korean mix.
Yo, you
No,
know where I want to see? You know where I want to see EQO go?
What
I'll
are
tell
you
where I
on
wanna see-
about?
The cultures are there, Johnny.
No,
Think
this is
about
like
it.
me talking about
Think about
Nevix.
it.
You're a proper Papega. It's
Think about it.
unbelievable.
Drinking
You're
culture.
booming me
They
on
got
this
the drinking
podcast. I'm
culture
getting
there.
boomed.
They got the same drinking ages in South Korea and the UK. The drinking culture's there.
You're relating to the
South
drinking.
South Koreans like to get raunchy. So do the UK players. I'm telling you now. Like to have a couple of beverages. You know, they like to go out. They wouldn't have any issue meshing in with the local culture.
You know where I would
could
want to
build a-
see?
You could build a super team out of South Koreans and
Nah,
Plat
yeah,
chat has never been more
What
true
if-
to his name.
What if EQO went to Atlanta and they kept Baby Bay, Urster, and EQO, and you had EQO and Urster as a possible scenario?
Why? Okay,
you
wait.
just say to
Let
get rid of
Matt
Baby Bay.
talk about why.
Because I think he's a little bit of an upgrade over Baby Bay and Enlayer, right?
No freaking way did they get rid of Baby Bay, dude.
No, I think you keep Baby Bay on the roster, but
That guy is like he is Atlanta personified.
no, obviously he is the face of Atlanta. But do you keep the why would if
Also,
you had the opportunity to bring in EQO, why wouldn't you?
EQO and Ersta's hero pools are almost identical. So that would be like
Trace.
I don't really see
Tracer,
why
no.
they-
Tracer plays like
Did you
Genji,
say
like-
Tracer?
they do both kind of flex on the Tracer when needed, but they're both like the.
Well, where
I don't
else
know.
could EQO go then?
I think Dallas would be a huge one. Like if Dallas don't get who are you and they don't get who was the
Yeah.
other player that we were
Yeah.
talking about before? I mean, Flower is now a free agent as well. So if anyone wants to take a punt on him,
I would rather
Yeah.
see EQO on Dallas than hydration. I think. I
Oh,
think that
hydration,
would be
that's what it
good.
was.
I don't think EQO could handle the environment
Of what?
of
Dallas.
Dallas.
I expect Dallas to look like a totally new team.
I
next
don't think
year. Same-
EQO would want the issues that have gone on with Dallas. I don't think he'd want to just go in there.
No, but I could see that actually being a pretty good set of players to build from. Okay, so I mean, we have no idea what Dallas is going to
What's
do.
the Valiant
But I can see like
situation?
Note,
don't think
Note,
Valiant
and then
are
you bring in
making changes.
EQO, you have
No?
Closer, and then you have like 3 staple pillars you can start building around, and then you fill in
Even like
gaps.
if you had like
Listen.
KSF and EQO instead of agilities,
I've listened to the comms.
that could be interesting.
of
The
Valiant.
comms. The comms.
I've listened to the comms of Valiant, and I think that they need a new main tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, I.
Well,
need
Fact
a new
Fiction is a
mindset.
notorious rager.
Yes, but that's. I mean, it's not that. It's like there's been moments where listen to the comms. He might comm less in certain scenarios when things aren't going his way or going the way of the team, I should say. I just think if they had another main tank to rely on
yeah.
in those moments and that they could bounce off of each other in a learning environment. Fact Fiction, very good player, not denying that. But if he had an additional main tank, so you'd have some competition inside the roster, they could really probably propel. both
Gomsu to the Valiant, dude.
Yo, I mean, Moon
He
just
kinda
went to
fits the
Shanghai.
vibe of- he
Moon
kinda
just went to Shanghai. You know, we could see Gomsu just moving Fate back to Shanghai. You never know.
Well, Fate is in Florida, man.
Yeah, they make the trade.
The 3-way trade,
Moon,
yeah.
Moon says, "I give you any amount of money."
You know how in
Okay.
you know how in
No,
real
I'm joking,
sports
I'm joking, obviously. But
Yeah.
you have these kind of players who just like they join a new team every season. I think we should establish like that group of players for the Overwatch League, and we should call them the mid-table mercenaries. And I think Fact Fiction is our first candidate to be like a mid-table
think
mercenary.
Yeah.
Convince me, like I think Gomsu could play for one of the LA teams. He seems like the type of guy who's pretty comfortable in LA. He speaks both English and Korean. He's got his dog here. He's like kind of settled down a little bit, like.
I see that.
And both
I
LA
could-
teams
yeah.
have an opportunity at the main tank position, right? Like you think like
I think Valiant would
Roar
love
and-
to work with Gamsu. Gamsu fits their kind of
brand and everything.
theme and
like,
brand
yeah.
perfectly. He's like a guy that's very much willing to work underneath the coaches and packing tens like set like a very strict hierarchy and yeah, I could definitely see Gamsu going to the Valiant. He's also like that would put the two Dennis Havelka nominees from this year on the Valiant. as
Which like
well.
is the
Like
Valiant's like,
Custer and Gamsu.
which is like the Valiant's like kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
brand like they're that type of
the
player,
whole
If,
right?
if I'm
We
a
are
Shanghai
17.
Dragons player, am I scared of Coach Moon coming into the season? Do I want to get
It'll
out
be-
and sell
it'll
high?
be
Do I want to sell
interesting.
my value high and get out?
No,
don't
I
know.
think Moon is a very respected coach.
Yeah.
Even when he was on Valiant, it was just
You know, he
mean-
benched Costa because he was too smart.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that wasn't the reasoning, obviously.
But that's
it was
yeah.
It was because that it was.
I'm just saying, there's some warning signs.
Right, it was obvious there was internal strife, and it was obvious that Moon sided with the Korean side of the team in terms of this internal strife.
But now he's
Like,
only
you
got
just read
Koreans
into
on that
that.
Yeah.
team.
Yeah, so
He's going to side
theoretically-
with all the Koreans versus Dia.
Yeah. Theoretically, there shouldn't be any issues. And
Yeah,
Moon
dude,
has had
like,
some good results in
somebody-
the past. I think
Somebody
this
in the
is
chat
great.
put like, dude, if the Valiant signed EQO and Gomsu and ran out EQO, KSF, Gomsu, Space, Custom, Kariv, that is a solid roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, but EQO doesn't fit into that at all. I mean, EQO is the opposite of Gamsu. You
I
know?
could see
He's
hydration in there.
very,
Or
very
hydration. Let's say if it was hydration instead of EQO.
Yeah, you just need hydration, to pop
Hydration,
off.
KSF, Gomsu,
But maybe-
I see
Space.
that. But
Why-
hydration
why-
is
why do you
agility.
say-
Yeah,
why
that's
do
true.
you say EQO doesn't fit into Valiant?
Because Valiant is a very
he's too
top-down
vocal.
approach. It's very much like, yeah, he's very vocal, very much
I
like
think the
he-
only
he's very
coach
headstrong.
there's only probably 2 coaches in the league I think that could break EQO.
But why would you want to break him?
You wouldn't wanna
Krusty,
break him.
well, you break him and reform him. That's how
Yeah,
the basis
like
of
Sonata.
Volunteers
No, but
work.
that's too risky.
And do you know what they do?
It's like,
Do you
oh,
know-
I'm gonna bring in XQC.
Bro,
We're gonna
it's how they do
turn
it
him
in the
around.
military.
It's like, no,
It's how they
Washington
do it in the
Justice, sit the
military.
fuck
Do you
down.
know
You're not
who
going
is-
to do
Do you
that.
know who do you know who the head coach is right now at Valiant? Packing 10 was in the military. Former Marine. God bless
I-
America.
I don't think
Break him down, build them up.
I love Bren's.
Packing 10 isn't even living with them in Los Angeles. I think that would be too much of a task.
Yeah.
Break
I
them
think that's
down.
too much.
He's
of a
not.
task.
He's not even here. Can we talk? JaeHong is a free agent. Is there a chance he leaves Seoul Dynasty?
Well, I would have originally said no chance in hell because after you see like how popular he is and stuff like that, Seoul should sign him again instantly. But you look at his recent tweets that got translated and when he was on stream and stuff.
And
he was saying
he's got a lot of offer, or he wants.
Yeah,
to
he said,
explore
I've got a
some."
bunch of offers from different places. And I think the other really interesting thing that he said as well was, if I could pick anything, I would play back with the same Lunatic High people, which
Yeah.
is weird, right? Because Lunatic High became Soul, but I think he means literally the exact same 6.
Yeah,
And he's
yeah,
like, that is never going to happen ever again. So I don't really know, like, what.
I'm gonna
what I
tweet
would
out
do.
tomorrow. If I could, again, I would play with the Rogue, and then it's like, oh, Paris Eternal 2020. It's like, no, Johnny, sit down.
Yeah.
It's-
Do you
it's-
think
it's
there's a
dead.
way he leaves?
I think
There's
he
a
might.
world.
He
There's a
could
world.
make that decision if he's. I thought that
I
he
think it's
enjoyed
just-
playing on Soul, but maybe he doesn't.
I think it's just where do you value him as like a flex support?
I think he really showcased that he still had what it takes to compete in the league.
I thought he was good this year. I thought
Yeah.
he
There
was
was
good
a
this year.
risk.
He was
I
pretty good.
completely thought he was mega washed up in
Yeah.
2018. This year, turned it around a little bit. And also, you get the side benefit. A lot of people need to realize as well the business side of this. A lot of these acquisitions are going to be made off of followings of these players. You have the most popular Korean player.
Oh, yeah.
in the
Especially in the first year when you're going back to homestands. Like, you need people that are going to sell tickets.
Well, they only have like 3 homestands or something, right?
Oh, yeah,
I
what
think,
is,
I think
what is-
Seoul has like 3
There was
homestands.
there
That's
was
just
a
in China.
rumor with JaeHong and NYXL, right?
Was
I-
there?
don't
Yeah,
know.
That would
it
be
was something
that would be
where-
so
Such
weird.
a weird
Like,
pick.
what would he
I
be doing?
thought,
He'd just be sat on the bench, like
he'd-
looking
he'd
at
be a-
Jonah.
Yeah, but I can see him
ambassador
doing
for
that
Jonah.
and like doing a great job
Yeah.
of it. But I talked about this on my stream today as well, and I said that I think that this year might be the best year for Seoul to
Because-
actually drop JaeHong. And like
'cause
to actually
they
like
just-
start rebuilding this year. Like take what you learned from this season with the new rookies, the new Overwatch League rookies, and then complete the core, and then
Do
you
you
sort
not
of
think
got
that
something
would be
going.
Yeah, the
incredibly
thing with-
unpopular though, Jonathan?
Well, what you gotta do? You gotta do a big time decision, like a big picture decision for Seoul Dynasty as a franchise.
okay,
and I
but
think
if-
at this point, a lot of people are getting washed up from the 2017
Yeah, the
era.
thing with New York and JaeHong started because New York just follows pretty much their own players and their own ex players, and then this week they started to follow JaeHong. out of
Yes, the
nowhere.
Reddit detectives have been looking at who's following who again. This is how all
It's-
of the agencies get
It's
cracked.
so dumb.
Just
Why
follow
would the
me on
social
Twitter.
media manager of a team know before the actual team?
Would you
Like, does nobody think about this? It's not
Do
the
you- would
coaches
you
who are
view-
running the social
would you
media.
view JaeHong as an upgrade over Bedosian?
No, absolutely not. Not
I
in
don't
any
think
way.
so.
No, not from like even a team.
I mean, in terms of like a
Teamwork,
brand
leadership
and a
perspective.
marketing, I don't think he's even. No, in fact, exactly the
No.
opposite. But Ocean's a shot caller and leader for his team. JaeHong isn't, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So. I mean, maybe you
Why,
want a change of leadership.
I'm just trying to
but-
think of the caliber of teams that JaeHong would, I assume, want to go to. Like, I assume he's not going to be like entertaining offers from the Florida Mayhem or like to go to like a team that
No.
can't compete.
If
Like,
that,
I
if
assume
that
he wants to-
happens, I'm gonna cry.
I just think it's
I would
wild that he wouldn't want
cry.
to be with. I think it's also pretty short-sighted from JaeHong to not think about the idea of returning to Seoul. He left Seoul to form part of the Seoul dynasty. All of those fans are waiting, clamoring for him and that posse to return, even though the results have only been like subpar. The fan turnout would be outrageous, and what he's gonna toddle off to NYXL or something and live in
The
New
one
York where
team I could
people
see him
quite like it. But
joining, I could see him joining Hangzhou.
Is he,
Yeah.
is he an
What?
upgrade over
Maybe.
Bebe?
He might
I
be
don't know
better
if
than
he's better than
Bebe.
Bebe, but he could be.
he's,
But
he's on
I
par,
just think
maybe.
I think if he needed a fresh start, the reason I'm thinking about this, the logistics wise, is that he might be better than Bebe, but also he still gets to live in Asia. Whereas the biggest downside to a player moving to somewhere like New York is the fact that they're going to be based in New York.
Well, if you're
For-
gonna,
for JaeHong, he's still going to be able to visit Seoul. You know, it's a short flight
yeah.
back home. But I mean, at that point, why not just stay on?
What about even
It's
what about
so weird.
Shanghai?
You want to break up Hangzhou that has played together since like 2017. Just like, let's throw JaeHong in
What
here.
about
Like,
JaeHong on Shanghai?
Speaking as a player, like back then in 2017, those guys on Hangzhou were probably like, "Oh, screw Lunatic High. We are the newcomers. We're going to take this team down."
Well,
You're not just going to acquire JaeHong. Just like, no, they were like, bitter
I'm
rivals
saying-
probably in 2017. It's like I don't think there's too much like history between those players to make
I
the
don't think
acquisition
so.
worthwhile.
I don't think there's any
down.
history between Bebe and JaeHong.
Yeah.
No, but I mean the players on Hangzhou.
Have you been sipping of that Apex juice again?
Yeah, I'm sipping the Apex juice, bro.
Did Wolf leave behind? some
Yeah,
Apex
no,
juice?
no.
You've been sipping away at it.
Well, you
Yeah,
can't
but
just
isn't
like, it's not
But in
ones and
esports,
zeros.
Johnny, in esports, 2 years is ancient history.
It's
No,
like
but
eternity.
transfers is not
don't even
ones and
think about
zeros.
it.
It's not binary.
No, of course not. No, there's a lot that goes into it. But I'm just saying, I'm thinking purely from JaeHong's perspective. If there was a team to join where he might fit into, it would be Hangzhou in my mind.
Yeah,
somebody
sure,
in
it
the
just feels
chat-
weird.
Somebody in the chat with something interesting. They're like, "What if JaeHong joined NYXL as a coach and didn't want to play anymore?"
I could see that. I mean, I don't think this is the year to do it because it
No.
would be such a huge boost to your brand to go back
Especially to go
Seoul
play
as
in
the Seoul
Seoul,
Dynasty,
right?
and then you leave next year as a coach. But players have a very short-sighted view
Well, do you
of
think
their
he's?
careers.
Do you think he's tied to Toby at all? If Toby's a free agent. Like if Seoul Dynasty didn't want to bring back Toby, he's kind of like what the last one standing, so to speak. Like
With
is
how
that something-
sentimentally they were talking about the old Lunatic High days, I could potentially even see some case in which JaeHong and Toby decide to go somewhere together and kind of view themselves as a package deal. But
But what
Yeah,
if they
that's
moved back
very
to Korea
speculative.
and played in contenders?
oh no.
Just for old time's
No.
sake, they still get
Pick
to
him
live
up
in
for
Seoul.
Gauntlet, bro. It's
They
not
got
too
enough
late.
money. They could just laugh off that. Maybe
Nah,
reignite
don't
some of
even-
that passion they had.
Don't even say that.
I mean,
Like, a lot of the players, I think we're going to see a lot of players retire this year because they don't want to travel as much. You wouldn't be traveling if you're in Korean contenders.
Hey,
Well,
I'll
yeah.
travel, bro.
Bro, you went from Owl,
Johnny's trying to
dude.
get picked up by his soul.
Hey, Guangzhou, you picked up Fraggy? My
Well, not
year,
anymore,
baby.
he's a
My
free
turn.
agent
My
now.
turn.
Nah,
Hit me
like
up.
there's not a chance, dude. Not
Yeah, I
a
don't know.
chance. Toby and JaeHong will find an Owl team before
Yeah, no, it's good.
before
I
they
think
end
so.
up in.
I can
contenders.
actually see Toby not playing
Just
at
putting
all
the idea in
this
his
year,
head.
but
Matt, you need to go, right?
I can probably go through like one more player. So let's pick the most interesting out of these players. So
let's talk about Nevix.
no, let's talk about so we got Hotba, Note,
Talk about Sleepy.
Birdring, Aim God, Arc, Nuss, Sleepy, Sato, Kelix, and Yanis.
Kellex? Where do you think Kellogg's cornflakes go?
I think Sleepy is kind of interesting, honestly.
Sleepy, the ones that interest me the most are Sleepy, Aim God, and Birdring.
All right, let's talk
Yeah,
about
I
all
mean-
three then, Matt, and have you miss your call.
Aim God, Aim God, I thought was like he just got benched because like him and Kelix didn't get along, right? But I mean, shit,
100% internal issues.
They
I think.
repaired
You
that.
can read it. You can read it like a book.
yeah.
Like
Well,
here's
like,
a better
And
player.
I
Here's
think
a
it was
better
more to do
player.
with the contract. Like
I think
he is a
Aim
good
God's
player, and
Super
he
good.
could go somewhere.
Speaks
I don't know
English and
where-
Korean as well.
Where would he go? Where's the best place for Aim God? For Jeff?
What if he played for like the Gladiators if they did a mixed roster and he could kind of fill that role that Bishu did with the
Oh, dude,
translation?
Washington Justice?
I don't know.
Justice?
Justice maybe. But I don't.
Justice would
I
be a
think
good pickup.
Yeah.
Aim God to
Gladiators you
Justice would
can't
be
predict
fat.
in this,
Yeah.
in this situation.
Gladiators, if they wanted to go full Korean.
What
then
about
yeah,
Hu-
sure,
what about
but
Aim God on
otherwise,
Houston?
Aim
I
God
don't
on
think he'd
Houston.
go well
I
with
think
that
it
team.
made more sleepy for Houston. It fits their brand a lot more.
Didn't we have this discussion like mid-season?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but hasn't
I don't
Sleepy
like
already
it.
got beef with like Raucus about the USA spot and stuff like that? And like the
Well,
the
he'd
people-
replace Raucus, but I still don't
Okay,
think it
But
like.
you would keep Rockets.
Do you
on
think the others
roster,
would-
You wouldn't get
Wait,
rid
how
of
many
them.
of the people on Houston are free agents? How many are they keeping? Josh, you know this.
Bani, Arhan, and Boink are free agents.
Yeah.
So they
Oh,
got
those guys are donezo. I don't see them
Link,
coming
Sir
back in 1,000 years.
Jake, Cool Matt.
Oh, that's what they do. They just
Rockets
Houston
free.
brings in Aim God and Kelly.
Whoa, they got an entire team here. What the heck?
Aim God and Kellex. I could
That's
see.
all
I mean,
kidding,
I could
that's
see
wild.
Neptuno. Like, why would you not pick up
Oh,
Neptuno? If you're
yeah,
gonna pick up Kellex, you
Neptuno,
should
dude,
pick up
yeah.
Neptuno. Neptuno to Houston would be a proper leadership.
I'd
figure.
love to see that.
Somebody
Yeah.
to actually motivate those fucks as well, because the
Yeah.
Houston Outlaws just seem like they are just. They
Aim
seem
God-
like
Aim
Well,
God
what
and,
you'll
field
have happen is
competitive.
it comes down to the coaching staff, because what you will have happen is you bring in Neptuno to do that, and then if they don't agree with him, they'll just gang up on Neptuno and be like, we don't want to play with him because
Dude, let
he's.
me
Well, who's
see.
the coaching staff at the moment? The
Well,
coaching
Well,
staff.
I don't know
yeah.
who's the coaching
They
staff
don't
is,
have
but I'm saying
coaching
like
staff.
I don't. Well, we'll have to see what happens. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
Or even
can I just
Arc.
pick your brain as to why do you think the Houston Outlaws are like a lazy team, Josh?
No, I'm not saying that they're lazy, but I think that whenever the coaching staff was discussing how they worked, it didn't seem like they worked similarly to any other team in the league. And whenever Houston were talking as well, they don't seem to have systems in place. They don't seem to have infrastructure. Like, I'm not saying they're lazy or they don't scrim as much as other teams and stuff like that, but there doesn't seem to be a process of making sure that everything has like a purpose. And a lot of the time when they were talking about how they scrim and what they do, it very much seems to me like Houston are going through the motions rather than really trying to be the best that they could be. Like those players don't seem like they have the fire behind them. I know that that's such like a vague thing to say, but have you ever talked to anyone on Houston and felt like they wanted to be the best? Like I've never talked to anyone on Houston and felt like they wanted to be incredible.
I think
Maybe
they,
Lynx.
Do you think it's because of like the content pieces where they seem like the only team that's happy?
Do they seem like the only team that's happy?
I mean, every content piece that I consume from Houston, the players are just like they're happy, you know.
Sure.
They're joking around on stage. I mean, it gives off the impression they don't care, but I think a lot of them do care. Maybe the piss poor season has sucked it out of them, but maybe all you need is like a coach to come in and say, "Right, lads, here it is. We're gonna win. Sort it out." You know?
Right. Yeah, but you can't win with that roster, right? So
Reignite it.
Yeah.
You need some better players in there anyway.
Sure.
Oh, well.
Sure.
Someone has to pick up Sharp. Someone has to pick up Blue Day.
What do you think will be the first move to happen, and when do you think we'll see it?
Well, that's
you
going
mean
to be
someone signing someone
Sharp
new?
being promoted to Dallas is going to be the first move. And if they don't do it,
Stop
they're-
just saying Swedish people over and over
Sharp
again.
is the best contenders player that should be promoted to Overwatch League.
So wait, the
Maybe the
7th.
best one from
Okay,
Sweden.
so that deadline is passed. So on the 7 teams that had completed like their exercising on or accepting or declining player options had to have it submitted. So the players who had team options, it may not be public. They know whether their option got picked up or not.
You just gotta
Well,
basically. What
it's
you gotta
time to
do is
sit down in a lot of hot tubs.
You gotta train a machine learning algorithm to go through all of the contenders players' tweets and notice if there's a sudden increase in positive language being used.
Yeah.
And if you do, you know they're being
Yeah,
picked up. Somebody
true.
get on it. Somebody at Reddit will know what to do.
So then, November 11th? I'm trying to read this and understand it. So that's when the 2019 season agreements officially end. So that's when everybody becomes actually free.
November 11th is when if you had a team option but they choose not to pick it up, that's when you become a free agent.
And what happens when you are an actual free agent? When does that?
It's already started. It started yesterday.
Oh, okay. So that's when
People
that
could be
thing started
signed
yesterday.
yesterday. Yep.
And then they have to have everything in by the 15th. So it's really like a really
The
fast
15th of what?
turnaround. November.
No, they have to have all of their rosters finalized by November the 15th.
Deadline for all teams have the minimum of 8 players under contract for next season must be
That's
done by
kinda
November
wild.
15th.
Good
Considering you don't know
Christ,
what the
that's
meta's
fast.
gonna be like.
Yeah.
And then teams
most
teams
people
may
aren't gonna
sign
dip
or
on the
trade
button.
they'll
But I
sign and
understand
trade
why that
players up
is.
until June 15th. They need visa time.
Visa time.
Yeah.
It needs to be that quick.
Jesus,
Yeah,
I didn't
well.
realize it was such a fast turnaround.
Yeah, so from like I
So
mean
we're talking a month and a week basically for them to get everything in order.
yeah, and to think about how many teams don't have like coaching structures and management set in place is crazy. Like
Yeah,
I
they're
think
starting to get it now though.
right, but I think by
everybody's
the end of the week you need at least all your coaches and things sorted, right?
Yeah, they should be aiming the end of the next.
Like if I was a
couple of weeks.
team, like the end by the end of this week I would have all of my coaching staff
Boston
intact.
has sorted themselves out. Florida
Yeah.
have sorted themselves out.
Washington announced
Houston's
John
still out.
Galt today.
London have Washington announced
John Galt
John
today.
Galt as their new head coach.
Yeah.
No,
I know that I've spoken to another couple of teams, and I know that they have their new coaches, but they haven't announced
Juice?
yet. So
Get the
Okay,
juice,
can
bro.
we
not
can we
spilling this
finish?
juice.
Yeah,
we
let's
finish
yeah.
by
finish.
saying
Someone asked if
sleeper
Sharp
pick
is better
teams.
than Element Mystic and Runaway Contenders, and my answer is yes.
No, okay.
Wait,
Oh,
what's
you
that?
think
Sorry?
Can I get everybody to say their sleeper pick teams for the Overwatch World Cup?
The Overwatch World Cup.
So how the hell did you come
That's
to this
so
thing?
far away. Why not the
Just-
Gauntlet's happening in 4 hours?
I don't watch contenders.
It's gonna be dope. Like I know that we always meme about contenders, but
Sleeper
you
team.
should actually. I
Yes,
mean, the
yeah.
games that are happening tonight aren't actually gonna be that great. I think,
Sleeper
but
team,
some of them are gonna be
Sweden.
phenomenal.
but also I'm just unable to
Sleeper
watch.
team, Team USA, dude.
Sweden is not a sleeper team. You're in the top.
Yes, it
10.
is. They're a bunch of contenders players.
Sweden
Of course
would
they are.
absolutely be a sleeper
Why
team
the hell are we talking about the World Cup?
because
You don't
Brent's
think,
brain is scattered.
Because
don't
we
think
don't want to talk
Iceland-
to your wedding DJ, bro.
We had such a sick time talking about free agents and all this crazy stuff that can happen.
I think
Bren takes
Iceland.
all the
I
Wow.
think-
momentum and
Matt
just-
Morello
think-
is not a proper Overwatch personality. He's just
I
here for
think
the money, dude.
Iceland
He's just
are
here
gonna
for the
knock
Overwatch
some
League contract. He
teams
doesn't
out.
care about contenders. He doesn't care about World Cup. Bro,
I think Iceland
Proper
are gonna knock
Plat
some teams
player.
out. Anyone
Unbelievable.
agree?
Look, contenders doesn't work into my time schedule.
Anyone agree?
Matt,
No,
Matt, go
do
play
you-
Fortnite.
Matt, do
What?
you want to talk about Iceland?
Hell nah.